Sean Hannity and Maria Bartiromo are just lying about Biden's economy and saying insane things that are untrue. Let's watch, and then I'll break it down.
I'm looking at inflation. I'm looking at this gas hack shutdown. But even prior to that, gas prices are going up. And here's my overall question. Joe Biden's been saying Americans, if you make over $400,000 a year, you're not going to be paying taxes. OK, isn't all of this a tax on everybody? Because every consumer good, when you pay more for fuel and you have inflation, we're going to be paying dramatically higher prices for everything we consume. Am I wrong?
No, Sean, you're not wrong. It is great to be with you tonight. You are spot on. We are looking at inflation on so many products. Take the price of lumber. It is up 77% year to date. The price of corn up 50% year to date. We learned in school that inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. That was the definition we learned about in school. When you start throwing money around, another $4 trillion going toward the economy, that is going to lift prices. And that is exactly what we're seeing. Probably the best move for Joe Biden would have been to just stay out of the way, leave the economy as is, given the fact that the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates at rock bottom levels. President Trump put in a tax cut plan in 2017, and all of this together truly moved the needle on economic growth. We have expectations for the economy in 2021 of growth of up to 9%. All President Biden needed to do was not mess that up, get out of the way. Instead, he's throwing a lot of money at this economy, creating inflation, and you're actually seeing, because of this lockdown that continues to persist, even with the no mask mandate now, people do not want to go to work. You just mentioned all of those states. 16 states at least have said, we don't want this $300 additional unemployment benefits. We're getting rid of it now. We need to start normalizing. Unfortunately, I'm looking at all of these policies, Sean, and I'm having a really hard time finding any policy out of this administration that's actually been good for the American people.
Okay, so let's break down basically everything they said there. Hannity's argument is, hey, Biden said he's not going to raise taxes on anybody making under $400,000 a year. But isn't the inflation that we're seeing a tax on everybody who makes under $400,000 a year? That's his argument. Here's why that's complete and utter bullshit. Inflation was about 4%. Guess what? Last year we had a little bit of deflation. And so inflation being at 4% just gets us to where we would have been at had we not had deflation last year. So this is much ado about nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Much ado about nothing. And they are so quick to try to say we're going to have like hyperinflation and Biden is Jimmy Carter 2.0. There's going to be the gas shortage because of that pipeline, even though that had nothing to do with Biden. That was a private pipeline, private infrastructure. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden. And it's back up and running and whatever. Bottom line is they're desperately trying to argue he is going to raise taxes on regular people. And their argument is, well, the inflation is basically a tax on regular people, even though inflation is exactly where it's supposed to be at had we not had deflation the year before. Okay, next. They talk about, well, the supply chain. See all these problems in the supply chain, and you have the price. Some prices are out of whack, like lumber, for example. You have to go a case-by-case basis to look at each individual thing that they're saying has price issues. You have to look at each one and determine, well, what is it in this particular market that's leading to that? But generally speaking, a lot of the pricing issues, insofar as they exist, it's because of COVID. Because COVID has fucked up the supply chain, and it's been like that for quite a while. You know? So, duh. Like, when you have a global pandemic, some things are going to be affected. Even when things get relatively back to some semblance of normal, some things are going to be affected. Then we have the argument from Bartiromo where she says, well, Biden's best move would have been to stay out of the way. Here's why that argument is ridiculous, and in a way she's actually contradicting herself. Trump didn't stay out of the way at all. Trump had COVID relief bills. Trump even did stimulus payments. Trump did the CARES Act, which was bigger, I think, than Biden's relief bill. And by the way, most of the CARES Act shit was terrible. It was just giving money to corporations. So she says, well, Biden's best move would have been to stay out of the way. She never said that under Trump, and Trump passed COVID relief bills. Trump was for stimulus payments. So why are the relief bills okay when Trump does it, but it's not good when Biden does it? That doesn't make sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Unless you say, oh, well, you know, the problem was we should have stopped right after the Trump ones. Trump himself called for $2,000 checks. And Biden did the $1,400. When you add the $1,400 plus the $600 Trump approved, that would be a total of $2,000. So Trump himself doesn't even agree with your entire argument. Oh, the best move that Biden could have done would be just to stay out of the way. I mean, that's utter nonsense. And by the way, if Biden had stayed out of the way, for example, I think our last jobs report, we would have lost like 1 million jobs. Instead, we gained like 220,000 or something like that. And they're saying, oh my God, this is a terrible jobs report. Had we not had the recent round of stimulus, we probably would have lost like 1 million jobs. And then they'd be attacking Biden for not doing enough. So he can't win because these people are complete partisan hacks. And then the final point is the one that I've made in a number of previous segments, which is there we go. People don't want to get back to work. Okay. The unemployment rate is 6%. It's 6%. So this idea that like, oh my God, are Americans just now lazy? What's going on? Is Biden making them lazy or something? I mean, the actual unemployment rate is probably like 12%, but you have almost 9 out of 10 people who are working. So this idea people just don't want to go to work, that's not true. But even to the extent it is true, because some people got unemployment, child tax credit, the stimulus payment, those people are reevaluating their life decisions and thinking of another job, thinking of what they want to do with the rest of their time in their life. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But they just attack. They're complete hacks. Biden could do something that's exactly like Trump would do, and they'd still attack Biden. Because that's what they do. That's what they view their jobs as. My job is to be the attack dog against the Democrats and to defend the Republicans. But they can't even come up with good arguments for it. They look ridiculous. Why was nobody saying anything worried about inflation when Trump was doing the massive relief bills, but when Biden does the same ones, all of a sudden, oh my God, inflation. They are full of shit. They're full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. And it really is pathetic, and I can't believe anybody watches them and thinks they make sense.